I always thought family meant safety, that no matter how bad life got, the people closest to you would stand beside you. But life has a way of showing you the cracks in relationships. And when the truth came out, I realized just how fragile my place in my own family really was. It started quietly, subtle changes that most would brush off. My son and his wife stopped visiting as often. Phone calls grew shorter, and invitations to gatherings started arriving late, almost as if I was an afterthought. At first, I convinced myself it was nothing. They were young, busy with work, building a life. I told myself not to take it personally, but deep down, I felt the distance widening. Then came the dinner, a family dinner I had looked forward to all week. I dressed carefully, made sure I brought along a small gift, and even baked my son's favorite dessert, just like I always used to when he was little. But when I arrived, I knew something was wrong. The glances exchanged across the table, the hushed tones, the way his wife avoided my eyes, it was all there, finally. My son cleared his throat and said words that would forever echo in my ears. "Mom, we think it's better if you don't come around so much anymore. We need space." I felt the room spin. My own son, my baby, whom I raised, whom I sacrificed everything for, was telling me I was no longer welcome. His wife sat there, arms folded, not even trying to soften the blow. And when I turned to her, she looked almost relieved, as though this was the outcome she had been pushing toward all along. I swallowed my pain that night. I didn't argue. I didn't beg. I simply stood, picked up my things, and left. The walk home was long, and though the night was warm, I felt a chill that sank deep into my bones. But here's what they didn't know. For years, quietly and without saying much, I had been working, saving, investing. My late husband and I had built more than anyone realized. Land, property, accounts all hidden in plain sight, all in my name. I never flaunted it because it wasn't about money for me. It was about security, about having something solid to lean on when life turned cruel days later. As the sting of their rejection still clung to me, I received a call, a real estate agent informing me that my son and daughter-in-law had inquired about selling the old farmhouse, the very house my husband and I had built together. My name was still on every document. They assumed, wrongly, that it would be easy to push me aside. That was the moment something inside me shifted. The sadness began to harden into resolve. They thought I was powerless. They thought I was a burden they could cut loose. But they were about to learn just how wrong they were. When I arrived at the lawyer's office to update my will, I made decisions I had never thought I'd make. My son was removed entirely. The inheritance, the land, The accounts, the properties was redirected to cousins and people who had shown me true kindness, a local orphanage, scholarships for young girls who wanted to study, even my neighbor's daughter, who had helped me carry groceries more times than I could count. The irony was painful, but also freeing. The family I had built, the son I had given everything to, had pushed me away. Yet strangers had shown me more warmth than my own blood. Weeks later, my son came knocking. I opened the door, and for a moment, I saw the little boy he used to be, the boy who once held my hand tightly in a crowded market, afraid of getting lost. But that boy was gone. In his place stood a man with greed in his eyes. "Mom, we've been thinking," he said, almost rehearsed. "It's silly for you to live alone. Why don't you move in with us?" His wife stood behind him, smiling that forced smile, the kind people wear when they think they've already won. I simply shook my head. "No, thank you. I'm fine here." They didn't know then what I had already done. They didn't know that the fortune they assumed would one day be theirs was already gone from their reach forever. And I didn't tell them. I let them believe their act had worked. I let them walk away thinking I was just the old woman in the quiet house. But I knew the truth. I knew that one day, when they finally realized, the shock would hit them harder than any words I could say now. For the first time in years, I felt peace, not because of revenge, not because of money, but because I finally understood something. Family isn't about blood. It's about love, respect, and loyalty. And those who cannot give it don't deserve the place they're given. So I live quietly now, in the home I chose to keep, with the memories of my husband and the satisfaction of knowing I stood up for myself in the end. They thought they could erase me. Instead, I wrote my own ending.